Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling uneasy, like something just wasn't right? Maybe it's the lingering words of someone close, comments that seem harmless at first but leave a sting, or actions that make you question your own judgment. Toxic people have a unique ability to creep into our lives, sowing seeds of doubt and slowly chipping away at our confidence. They often work subtly, hiding behind masks of care, humor, or charm, making it hard to pinpoint what's really happening until the damage is already done. Before we continue, friends, I kindly ask you to subscribe to my channel. It only takes a second for you, but for me, it's an extra motivation to keep creating videos. I'd also really appreciate a comment. Thank you for your support, and now, let's continue with the story. Let me share a story about Linda. She's the kind of person who always has something to say about everything. At a family gathering, she makes an offhand comment to her nephew. "Are you really eating that? I thought you were trying to lose weight." She chuckles, brushing it off as a joke, but the young man's face falls. This is classic toxic behavior. Criticism disguised as concern or humor. Over time, these little comments accumulate, eroding self-esteem like drops of water wearing away stone. But not all toxic behaviors are so obvious. Let's take Dan, for instance. Dan has a way of turning every family discussion into a narrative about how much he sacrifices for everyone. "I do so much for this family, but does anyone even notice?" he sighs, leaving an air of guilt hanging in the room. Suddenly, everyone feels compelled to prove their appreciation, catering to Dan's needs while neglecting their own. This isn't love or care. It's manipulation. Toxic people often twist emotions to maintain control, and guilt is one of their favorite tools. What ties these behaviors together is a deeper, more insidious tactic. Toxic individuals thrive on undermining your sense of self. They might gaslight you, making you doubt your reality or memory. "I never said that," they'll insist, even when you're sure they did. Or they'll subtly create a sense of dependence, framing themselves as the only ones who truly understand or can help you. At first, it feels comforting to have someone so involved, but slowly, they tighten their grip, leaving you feeling trapped and questioning your ability to stand on your own. Take Sarah's story as an example. When Sarah started a new job, she was thrilled to have a mentor, Karen, who seemed eager to guide her. But over time, Karen's support became controlling. She'd say things like, "You wouldn't have gotten this far without me," or "Are you sure you can handle that on your own?" It wasn't long before Sarah began second-guessing her abilities, relying more and more on Karen's approval. What Sarah didn't realize was that Karen wasn't helping her grow. She was keeping her under control. It's easy to blame yourself in these situations, to wonder if you're too sensitive or overreacting. That's exactly what toxic people want. They manipulate in ways that make you question your worth and judgment, ensuring they hold the upper hand. But here's the truth. Recognizing these behaviors isn't a sign of weakness. It's a step toward reclaiming your emotional well-being. At our core, we all value self-respect and emotional peace. These aren't luxuries. They're necessities for a fulfilling life. Toxic people threaten these values, trying to tether you to their needs and their narrative. But you have the power to break free. As we continue, I encourage you to reflect on your relationships. Are there moments that leave you feeling small, unseen, or uneasy? These could be the subtle warning signs of toxicity. Recognizing them isn't just about identifying what's wrong. It's about protecting what's right. Your confidence, your peace, and your joy. Stay with us as we uncover the 12 clear signs of toxic behavior and explore how to protect yourself while preserving your inner strength. Together, we'll navigate this journey toward emotional freedom. Toxic behaviors often hide in plain sight. They don't always announce themselves with grand gestures or obvious malice. Instead, they creep into your life in subtle, insidious ways, like whispers that grow louder over time. These behaviors aren't just about undermining your self-esteem. They're about control, manipulation, and keeping you off balance. Recognizing these tactics is crucial to protecting your emotional well-being. Imagine this. You're in a conversation with someone close to you, someone you trust. You bring up a concern, maybe something they said or did that bothered you. Instead of addressing it, they laugh it off or twist the narrative entirely. You're imagining things, they say, or, I never said that. You're overreacting. Suddenly, you're left questioning your memory, your perspective, and even your sanity. This is gaslighting, one of the most harmful tools in the toxic person's arsenal. It's not just about denying the truth. It's about making you doubt your ability to perceive reality. Gaslighting can be subtle, but its impact is profound. Consider Sarah, whose friend Beth often dismissed her feelings. Whenever Sarah tried to express frustration about Beth's behavior, Beth would respond with, I can't believe you'd think that about me. You're so sensitive. It's like you're looking for reasons to be upset. Over time, Sarah began to wonder if she was the problem. She second-guessed her emotions and avoided conflict, fearing she'd be labeled as overly dramatic. Then there's triangulation, another toxic tactic that drives a wedge between people. This occurs when someone manipulates relationships by pitting individuals against each other, often to gain power or sympathy. Think of Mike, whose co-workers subtly sowed discord between him and their boss. The boss said he's disappointed in your work lately. She'd whisper, while telling the boss, Mike feels unappreciated. He mentioned he's thinking of leaving. Neither statement was true, but the seeds of doubt were planted, creating tension and mistrust. By controlling the narrative, the co-worker positioned herself as indispensable, ensuring that everyone relied on her for clarity and solutions. These manipulative tactics often go hand in hand with deflection. When confronted about their behavior, toxic individuals rarely take responsibility. Instead, they shift the focus onto you. I only said that because you were being difficult, they might argue, or I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't made me so upset. It's a classic move, turning the tables to make you the one at fault. This keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-blame, constantly questioning your role in their actions. Let me share a story about Rob and his mother-in-law, Carol. When Carol moved in temporarily, her helpfulness seemed like a blessing at first. She reorganized the kitchen, offering unsolicited advice about parenting and household management. But when Rob gently asked her to respect their family's routines, she turned the tables. I was only trying to make things easier for you. I don't know why you're being so ungrateful. What could have been a simple discussion became a guilt-laden confrontation, leaving Rob feeling like he was in the wrong. Carol's deflection ensured that her actions remained unchallenged, while Rob was left carrying the emotional burden. Toxic individuals are often masters of keeping others off balance. They use these tactics to maintain control, ensuring that you're too preoccupied with doubt or guilt to challenge them. What's most troubling is how they disguise their actions as kindness, concern, or even love. This makes it even harder to recognize what's happening, and even harder to walk away. But here's the truth. Love doesn't leave you questioning your worth. Genuine care doesn't manipulate or control, and no one has the right to twist your reality to suit their needs. Recognizing these behaviors isn't just about identifying what's wrong. It's about reclaiming your sense of self. It's about understanding that you deserve relationships rooted in respect, honesty, and mutual support. The journey to breaking free from toxicity begins with clarity. When you see these patterns for what they are, you can begin to set boundaries and take back your power. As we continue, think about the relationships in your life. Are there moments when you felt manipulated, blamed, or intentionally misunderstood? If so, know that you're not alone and that it's never too late to make a change. Together, we'll uncover more signs of toxic behavior and explore ways to protect your peace while maintaining your strength. Let's move forward, step by step, toward a place of emotional freedom and balance. Toxic individuals have a way of pushing boundaries, often so subtly that you don't realize what's happening until your peace of mind is compromised. Recognizing this is one thing. Knowing how to respond is another. Setting boundaries is essential, but it can feel daunting, especially when faced with resistance. The good news? Boundaries are not only possible but powerful, and they're entirely within your control. Let's start with clarity, the foundation of any boundary. Before you can communicate your limits, you need to define them. What behaviors make you uncomfortable? What actions drain your energy or disrupt your well-being? Take a moment to reflect on these questions. Perhaps it's a friend who constantly unloads their problems on you without reciprocating support, or a family member who dismisses your decisions and tries to control your life. Once you've identified your limits, the next step is communication. Here's where many people hesitate, worried about coming across as rude or causing conflict. But setting boundaries isn't about confrontation. It's about honesty. The key is to be direct, calm, and assertive, framing your needs in a way that prioritizes mutual respect. For example, if a coworker frequently interrupts your work with personal requests, you might say, "I value our teamwork, but I need uninterrupted time to focus on my tasks. Let's schedule a specific time to discuss anything you need from me." This approach is clear, respectful, and leaves little room for misinterpretation. But what happens when your boundary is met with resistance or manipulation? Toxic individuals often push back, testing your resolve. They might accuse you of being selfish or try to guilt you into compromising. This is where consistency becomes critical. Let me share a story about Claire, a mother who struggled to set boundaries with her adult daughter, Emily. Emily often relied on Claire for financial support, asking for loans that she never repaid. When Claire finally decided to say no, Emily responded with anger, accusing her mother of not caring about her struggles. Claire, tempted to relent, instead stood firm. She calmly explained, "I love you and want to support you, but continuing to give you money isn't helping you become independent. Let's work together to find another solution." It wasn't easy. Emily's frustration lingered for weeks, but Claire's consistency sent a clear message. Her boundaries weren't negotiable. Over time, Emily began to seek other resources, learning to manage her finances more responsibly. When dealing with pushback, remember this: you're not responsible for someone else's emotions. Their reaction is about them, not you. It's natural to feel discomfort when someone challenges your boundaries, but standing firm is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. In situations where manipulation or guilt-tripping occurs, it's helpful to have strategies for deflecting these tactics. One effective approach is to use I statements, which keep the focus on your needs rather than their behavior. For instance, if a friend says, "You never make time for me anymore," you could respond, "I care about our friendship, but I also need time to recharge. Let's plan a time to catch up when I'm feeling more balanced." Another strategy is the broken record technique, where you calmly repeat your boundary without engaging in their attempts to argue. If someone pressures you to change your mind, respond with the same clear statement: "I've already made my decision. I hope you can respect that." Over time, this consistency reinforces your resolve and signals that their efforts to manipulate you will not succeed. Maintaining boundaries also requires a willingness to enforce them. This doesn't mean issuing ultimatums or cutting people off entirely. It means holding others accountable for respecting your limits. If someone repeatedly crosses a boundary, address it directly. For example, "We've talked about this before, and I've been clear about what I need. If this continues, I'll have to reconsider how we interact." Accountability might sound harsh, but it's essential for ensuring your boundaries are respected. Toxic individuals often rely on the assumption that you'll back down, so following through on consequences shows that your limits are non-negotiable. Self-care plays a vital role in boundary setting as well. Toxic behaviors can take an emotional toll, so it's important to prioritize your well-being throughout the process. This might mean seeking support from a trusted friend, journaling your experiences, or practicing mindfulness to stay grounded. Remember, your boundaries exist to protect your peace and create space for healthy relationships. It's also worth noting that boundaries are not static. They can evolve as your needs and circumstances change. Reassess your limits periodically and don't hesitate to adjust them if necessary. Flexibility doesn't mean compromising your values. It means staying attuned to what serves your well-being in the present moment. As we close this section, let's return to the essence of boundaries. They're not about shutting people out. They're about creating a space where you can thrive. When you set boundaries, you reclaim your power and remind yourself and others that your emotional health matters. In the next part, we'll explore how to recognize the long-term patterns that make toxic relationships so difficult to break and discuss strategies for navigating these challenges with strength and grace. For now, take a moment to reflect on your relationships. Where might boundaries make a difference? How could asserting your needs bring you closer to a life of balance and harmony? Remember, setting boundaries isn't an act of rejection. It's an act of self-love. Breaking free from long-term toxic relationship patterns is one of the most challenging yet liberating journeys you can take. Toxic individuals often entrench themselves deeply into your life, using manipulation and control to keep you tethered. While this process can feel overwhelming, there are clear, actionable strategies you can use to reclaim your independence and rebuild a life of peace and fulfillment. One of the first steps in breaking free is recognizing the manipulation tactics toxic people use to maintain control. These can include guilt-tripping, gaslighting, and fostering dependence. For example, a toxic partner might say, "After everything I've done for you, how can you even think about leaving me?" This guilt-driven approach is designed to make you feel selfish for prioritizing your well-being. Recognizing these tactics for what they are, tools to keep you in place, is the first step toward dismantling their power. To counter manipulation, it's important to reclaim your narrative. Toxic people often distort reality, painting themselves as victims or heroes while casting you as the villain. Start by documenting situations where you feel manipulated or controlled. Writing down what happened, how you felt, and what you wanted to say can help you identify patterns and validate your experiences. Consider Emma's story. Her sister would often twist their conversations to make Emma seem unreasonable. After a heated discussion, Emma's sister would call other family members, sharing a skewed version of events that cast Emma as the aggressor. When Emma began journaling these incidents, she noticed a consistent pattern of blame and misrepresentation. With this clarity, Emma was able to calmly address the situation, saying, "I've noticed that after we argue, you involve others by sharing your perspective without mine. This damages my relationships, and I need it to stop." Addressing such patterns requires more than just recognition. It requires action. Reclaiming independence from toxic dynamics means taking practical steps to rebuild your self-reliance. Start small, focusing on areas where you feel overly dependent on the toxic person. This could involve learning a new skill, managing your own finances, or making decisions without seeking their approval. Let's look at Brian's experience. His longtime friend Mark had a habit of undermining Brian's confidence. Whenever Brian shared an idea, Mark would counter with, "Are you sure that's the right move? I wouldn't risk it." Over time, Brian began second-guessing his instincts and relying on Mark for validation. Realizing this pattern, Brian decided to practice decision-making on his own. He started with small choices, like planning his weekends without Mark's input, and gradually built up to larger decisions. Each step strengthened his confidence, allowing him to rely on himself instead of seeking Mark's approval. Another crucial aspect of breaking free is addressing the fear of confrontation. Toxic people often use anger, guilt, or deflection to avoid accountability, making conflict feel like a battle you can't win. But confrontation doesn't have to be combative. It can be a powerful tool for asserting your boundaries and reclaiming your power. When preparing for a difficult conversation, start by grounding yourself in your goals. What outcome are you seeking? Keep your message simple and focused, avoiding emotional escalation. For example, if you need to address someone's constant criticism, you might say, "I value our relationship, but I've noticed that your comments often feel more critical than supportive. I need us to communicate in a way that's constructive. Expect resistance and plan your responses in advance." Toxic individuals often try to derail conversations with deflection or accusations. If they say, You're overreacting. Stay calm and reiterate your point. This is important to me, and I'd appreciate it if you take it seriously. If they shift blame, redirect the focus. We're not talking about the past. We're talking about how we can improve things moving forward. Consistency is key. Toxic individuals test boundaries repeatedly, hoping you'll give in over time. Each time you hold firm, you reinforce your limits and demonstrate that their tactics won't work. Building independence also involves reconnecting with sources of support outside the toxic relationship. Toxic individuals often isolate you, making you feel like they're your only source of stability. Rebuilding your support network, whether through friends, family, or professional resources, can provide the strength and perspective you need to move forward. Take small steps to rebuild these connections. Reach out to an old friend for coffee, join a community group that aligns with your interests, or seek the guidance of a therapist who can help you process your experiences. These relationships remind you of your worth and offer a counterbalance to the negativity you've endured. Finally, remember that breaking free from long-term patterns is a process, not an overnight transformation. Celebrate small victories along the way, whether it's standing firm in a conversation, making a decision on your own, or finding a moment of peace amid the chaos. As we move into the final part of this journey, reflect on what freedom looks like for you. What would your life look like without the weight of toxic relationships? How would it feel to wake up knowing your choices, your peace, and your happiness are entirely your own? In the next section, we'll explore how to create a life filled with relationships that uplift and empower you, leaving toxicity behind for good. But for now, take this moment to acknowledge your strength. The fact that you're here, seeking change, is proof that you have the power to transform your life. Escaping toxic relationships is a transformative journey, but the path doesn't end there. The next step is learning how to build a life filled with healthy relationships, self-care, and a renewed sense of purpose. This stage is about more than just healing. It's about thriving. But how do you move forward with confidence and intention? Let's explore practical steps for nurturing healthy connections and caring for yourself in meaningful ways. Healthy relationships are built on a foundation of trust, respect, and mutual support. They're not free from challenges, but they thrive on open communication and shared values. Start by identifying the relationships in your life that feel positive and uplifting. Who makes you feel safe to express your thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment? Who listens to you without trying to fix, dismiss, or control you? These are the people to invest in. To nurture these connections, prioritize quality time. For example, if a friend has always been there for you, schedule a regular coffee date or a phone call to catch up. Use this time to not only share your own experiences, but to genuinely listen to theirs. Relationships flourish when both parties feel valued and heard. Creating healthy boundaries is also essential, even in the most positive relationships. Boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about fostering respect. For instance, if a friend or family member tends to unload their problems on you, you might say, "I care about you and I want to support you, but I need to be in the right mindset to do that. Can we talk about this later?" This approach communicates care while protecting your emotional energy. As you build healthier relationships, it's equally important to let go of lingering guilt or self-doubt from past toxic dynamics. Practicing self-compassion can help. Remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes or take time to heal. If you catch yourself feeling guilty for setting boundaries, reframe your perspective. Boundaries are an act of love for yourself and for others. Let's take a look at Emily's journey. After years in a toxic relationship where her needs were constantly dismissed, Emily struggled to express her desires in new relationships. She felt selfish for asking for what she needed. But over time, she learned to practice self-compassion by writing affirmations. "I am deserving of love and respect. My needs matter." These affirmations, paired with small steps like clearly communicating her preferences in everyday situations, helped her rebuild her confidence. Self-care is another cornerstone of life after toxicity. While it's often associated with indulgences like bubble baths or spa days, Self-care is about consistently meeting your own needs. It means ensuring you're emotionally, mentally, and physically supported. Start by creating routines that prioritize your well-being. This might involve setting aside 10 minutes a day for mindfulness or journaling, which can help you process your emotions and gain clarity. For physical care, consider simple, sustainable habits like regular walks, cooking nutritious meals, or establishing a bedtime routine to improve sleep quality. Building a supportive environment is also key. Surround yourself with people, places, and activities that uplift you. If your home feels like a source of stress, make small changes to create a sanctuary. This could be as simple as decluttering your space, adding comforting touches like soft lighting or meaningful decor, or dedicating a corner for relaxation and reflection. Additionally, seek out communities that align with your interests or values. Joining a book club, attending a yoga class, or volunteering for a cause you're passionate about can help you connect with like-minded individuals who enrich your life. As you rebuild, there will be moments when the echoes of toxic relationships resurface. You might doubt your choices or feel tempted to revert to old patterns. During these times, remind yourself of how far you've come. Reflect on the boundaries you've set, the relationships you've nurtured, and the self-care habits you've cultivated. Progress is rarely linear, but every step forward is a victory. To keep yourself anchored, revisit the lessons learned from your journey. For example, if you recognized earlier how toxic individuals use manipulation, remind yourself of the tools you've developed to counter those tactics. If you've worked hard to establish boundaries, reaffirm them with confidence, knowing they're a testament to your growth. As you move forward, focus on creating a vision for the life you want to build. What does peace look like for you? Perhaps it's a morning cup of coffee in silence, a weekend spent hiking with friends, or the freedom to pursue a new career path. Whatever it is, allow yourself to dream boldly and take steps toward those goals, no matter how small they seem. Remember, living your best life isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about finding joy in the everyday moments, embracing your resilience, and knowing you have the strength to navigate whatever challenges come your way. If this journey resonates with you, we'd love to hear your story. Share your experiences in the comments. What strategies have helped you build healthier relationships or practice self-care? Your insights could inspire someone else to take their first step toward healing. And if you found this video helpful, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Together, we can continue growing and creating lives that reflect our best selves. Stay tuned for more insights on living a fulfilled life. Whether it's finding your purpose, overcoming obstacles, or building deeper connections, we're here to support you every step of the way. Remember, every step you take toward peace and joy is a step worth celebrating. You've got this, and we're cheering for you